Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the top 10 PSA baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1980s for May 2025. One of the things I noticed about some of the cards that made this month's top 10 list and for previous months is that cards from the mid to late 1980s from the Topps Tiffany sets seem to be doing very well. Now, the Topps Tiffany sets were produced in much fewer quantities than the base Topps sets from those years. So limited quantity, high demand for some of the great rookies from those sets lead to high prices. Plus, it's sometimes harder to find PSA 10 copies from those Tiffany sets. So when you do find a PSA 10 copy, they tend to go for some pretty good money. Now, before I get to the cards that made this month's top 10 list, I thought it would be good to give a reminder on where I get the data for these videos. Rather than just search completed listings on eBay's website, I use eBay's TerraPeak website. Supposedly, according to eBay, this gives a more accurate representation of completed transactions. Plus, if you do a search on just completed listings on eBay and the card was sold for a best offer, it may not always show what that agreed upon best offer was. Well, through TerraPeak's website, it does list what that agreed upon best offer was. Now, I do cross-reference or cross-check the sales from eBay's website on VCP's database. That's where I get the current average price and the record high price and so on. In most cases, those eBay sales are included in VCP's database, but there are occasions where the data is just not in VCP's database and does impact whether it be a record high sale or the current average price. But I am relying on the data from eBay's TerraPeak website to determine which cards made the top 10 list. So with that, let's go check them out. Coming in at number 10, we have this 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 22nd for $3,000. It was an auction. There was one bidder. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $2,587. The record high sale was $6,050 back in February of 2021 through eBay. There have been over 33,000 copies graded a PSA 9. 4,307 have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there were 4 other significant 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. sales in May. In fact, I counted at least 19 PSA 10 copy sales in the month of May, but here are the next 4 in terms of prices. First one, we have sold on May 26th for $2,999. Then another one sold on May 31st for $2,989. A copy sold on May 27th for $2,950. And then a copy sold on May 23rd for $2,850. At number 9, we have this 1985 Topps Maguire in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 12th for $3,219. It was an auction. There were 64 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $3,053. The record high sale was $5,000 back in May of 2020 through eBay. There have been over 7,300 copies graded a PSA 9. Only 307 have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there was one other significant 1985 Topps Maguire, also in a PSA 10, this one selling on May 23rd for $3,180. At number 8, we have this 1984 Donruss Don Manningly in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 18th for $3,700. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $3,344. The record high sale was $6,500 back in March of 2021 through eBay. There have been 3,868 copies graded a PSA 9. Only 345 have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there were two other 1984 Don Manningly sales in May of note. Both of them PSA 10 copies. The first one sold on May 1st for $3,266, and then the second one sold on May 21st for $3,078. At number 7, we have this 1989 Topps traded Tiffany Griffy Jr. in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 12th for $3,706. It was an auction. There were 43 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $3,345. The record high sale was $11,995 back in February of 2021 through a PWCC listing on eBay. There have been 1,534 copies graded a PSA 9. Only 345 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 6, we have this 1983 Topps Tony Gwyn in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 10th for $3,883. It was an auction. There were 20 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $3,725. The record high sale was $4,750 back in February of 2021 through a PWCC listing on eBay. There have been 6,222 copies graded a PSA 9. 747 have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there was one other 1983 Topps Tony Gwyn rookie card sale in May. Another PSA 10 copy sold on May 22nd for $3,650. At number 5, we have this 1989 Topps Tiffany Johnson in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 24th for $4,000. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $3,610. The record high sale was $7,399 back in April of 2022 through eBay. There have been 459 copies graded a PSA 9. Only 112 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 4, we have this 1981 Topps Rickey Henderson in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 25th for $4,525. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $3,695. This sale here at $4,525 represents a new record high sale for a PSA 10 copy. The previous high was $4,320 back in March of this year through Fanatics Collect. There have been 1,167 copies graded a PSA 9. Only 103 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 3, we have this 1985 Topps Tiffany Kirby Puckett in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 4th for $5,800. It was an auction. There were 21 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $5,950. The record high sale was $6,838 back in May of this year. In fact, May 31st through memory lane. In a PSA 9, there have been 371 graded copies. Only 53 have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there was one other 1985 Topps Tiffany Kirby Puckett sale in May. Another PSA 10 copy sold on May 27th for $5,360. At number 2, we have this 1982 Topps traded Cal Ripken Jr. in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 17th for $6,000. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $5,834. The record high sale was $20,101 back in February of 2021 for a PWCC listing on eBay. There have been 4,607 copies graded a PSA 9, 421 have been graded a PSA 10. And the number one sale on eBay from the 1980s for May 2025, this 1986 Topps traded Tiffany Berry Bonds in a PSA 10. This one sold on May 7th for $6,500. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $6,384. The record high sale was $16,000 back in February of 2021 through eBay. There have been 1,490 copies graded a PSA 9. 454 have been graded a PSA 10. Well, there you go, the top 10 PSA baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1980s for May 2025. As always, would love to know in the comments what you think about the cards that made this month's top 10 list. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.